Hello everyone, welcome to another video. My name is Philip, I'm also known as PS or PS Enough. This is the follow-up to the previous video that I did about the 4Ks in the demo scene. So on the previous video we covered the best 4Ks of all time, according to Pouet at least. And now we are going to cover the best 4Ks of the last 3 years. And I'm going to try to show you the comparisons of what evolved since then and where things went uphill. So bear with me. So, number 10, we have Faraday Future by LJ and Alcatraz. This was released at Evoke 2017. It won first place there, so just last year. LJ is sort of a newcomer to the demo scene. He arrived maybe 4 years ago, something like that. And he's really good with shaders, so he started doing a lot of visual stuff with shaders. He's a very known name nowadays on the 4K scene. And the music is by Virgil, which uses Forklang, which was the system developed by Alcatraz to do music for 4Ks. You saw an intro on the previous top 10 by Alcatraz when they were starting to develop that thing. Forklang became the most famous tool for music on 4K, and Virgil is one of the guys really pushing it forward and sharing patches of instruments and stuff like that with other people. So he's really one of the guys really pushing the limits of what Forklang can do. Number 9, we have Unprogressive by Fairlight. This was a relatively recent demo. It was released at Soulskulgen in 2017. He won first place there. He got a recognition on the Meteorix Awards, was nominated for the best small high-end intro, and it was one of the most recent releases by Tumblebloss, which is not very known in the demo scene or hasn't been very active in the demo scene, so he's a relatively newcomer. Although he's been part of the demo scene, he hasn't been releasing, and he did this awesome fractal world with a lot of content, like a whole city in it. It looks pretty good, has this great rendering technique. Music got a lot of criticism. It didn't feel as good as it could be, but it was a very nice new player coming into the 4K scene and got a lot of positive reviews, and he's in top 9 of the latest 3 years of 4K releases. Number 8, we have Oscar's Chair, freshly released on Revision 2018. He got first place on the compo, very tight compo in 2018. 4K compos have been rising through the roof in quality, especially at Revision. Last year already, in 2017, it was a totally insane compo on the quality of releases, and this one is no different. You have Fizzer, who is becoming rather known in the demo scene for doing a lot of good rendering techniques. And you have Nobi, which is another of the names, along with Virgil, that has been pushing the limits of Forklang in terms of what you can do with it in audio production. So Oscar Shares got a lot of praise and well-deserved. Has a lot of scenes in it. All of them look really stunning. The audio direction is also very on point. The direction overall is very on point. So that's why I got all the props and is in number 8 of our top 10 for the last 3 years. Number 7, we have Horizon Machine by EOS and Alcatraz. Again, Fizzer, again, Virgil. So the same names are being repeating themselves a lot in these past years, but the quality is stunning. Horizon Machine in particular got a lot of praise for doing voxel, I forgot the name of the technique, but you can do voxel ray tracing, I think. You can do great rendering lighting using that technique, and apparently you're supposed to take a lot of space for using it, and this is a 4K, so it's very strange how he managed to do it, but he did it, and it looks pretty good. A reminder that all of these 4Ks nowadays are all mostly just 2 triangles and ray tracing stuff using the pixel shader. On the old days we used to see some geometry in it, some stuff like that. And nowadays in 2017, 2018, everything has been reduced to pixel shaders. Are pixel shaders really the cutting point? Can you push more limits in what you can squeeze into stuff if you only use pixel shaders? I heard a lot of people talking about crunching techniques for shaders, like shader minimizers, let's call it that. Try to squeeze more time, but more space out of it, but you really don't need it that much. There are a few crunching tools out there that do it, but text compresses so well that you don't really need it that much, and you still have Crinkler on top of that to compress even more. So, but yeah, this is for another video. Let's move on. Number 5, we have Kinetics by Prism Beings, and this was the 4K intro that really brought attention to Nobi. Nobi was originally a musician who apparently started coding graphics stuff, and he's really good at audio production, and he's really good in the sense of design. And Kinetics was one of the first 4Ks that he did, where you could really see both those worlds connecting very well and leaving a very strong impression. And he won Assembly 2015 with this intro. So if you haven't seen it, you can check the video below. I'll probably be playing it while I'm doing this blah blah blah. Number 4, we have Rhodium by Alcatraz, completely made by Virgil, both code and music. Virgil was originally a musician, and similar to Nobi and similar to other guys on the demo scene, he just decided to learn how to do the ray tracing thing, and he did this awesome effects, and he's been doing 4Ks by himself, sometimes he just does the music. This is another example. Rhodium, it won Deadline in 2016. Top 4, we have Final Stage by 0x4015. This is a Japanese guy, won Revision 2017, so last year. It is the final chapter of his trilogy of stages of stuff. It uses some very interesting techniques. First, the music is also made in the shader, which is not very common, so it's another way of making music and rendering the music. You can earn some size with that, but not as much, and you are a little bit more limited than you are if you use Forklang or Oidus or some other soft synth that is out there, because you have to code all the sound generation yourself. You can't use patches or instruments that other people have done. So it's a bit more limiting, but it also gives you some degree of freedom, depending if you know how to program sound, of course. The visuals are also very inspired by Stack, if you check out some parts of it, but overall it's part of the trilogy, and it's important to refer to the trilogy. I'll go back to it when we see what is up next. Number 3, we have Whaley from Prism Beings, another of Nobi's masterpiece. It ended up winning Best Small High-End Intro Meteorics Award for this year. It won Deadline 2017 last year, which was also a very strong 4K combo. Yeah, Nobi's sense of direction is completely overwhelming. The music blends very well with all the visuals. This was a stunning 4K. It was one of my favorites from last year. And I was part of the jury on the Meteoric, so I influenced this one winning over another of Nobi's entry and the other 3 nominees. Second place on the best 4Ks of the last 3 years, we have Second Stage Boss by 0x4015 and Yet 11. It won the Tokyo Demo Fest 2016. It features awesome graphics, spaceship fight in the middle of boss, hence the name Second Stage Boss. And it won a lot of awards for that. It won Best Direction, it won Best High-End 4K Intro, and it was nominated for the Public's Choice Award as well on Meteorics that year. So a lot of praise for this Japanese developer that came out of nowhere and just started delivering awesome stuff, and we always like that on the demo scene. I mean, fresh blood is important. Number 1 on the top 10 of the last 3 years on a 4 kilobyte category on Pouet is Absolute Territory by Prism Beings. This completely took Revision 2017 by storm. It got second place, very strangely enough. Everyone thought it was going to win. It was everybody's favorite. It features this great style, reflective lighting, which is hard to pull off according to people who are more into graphics. You can really see how Nobi pushes the limits of the Forklang tool. It's really a great sight to see. It lost against Final Stage by 0x4015, but on the Meteorics nominees, final stage wasn't even nominated. That's how much the public responded to Absolute Territory. And both the second and third place 4Ks, which were Absolute Territory and Horizon Machine, which you already mentioned before, both of them were nominated for the Meteorix Award. And they have a lot more likes on Pouet as well, so people really responded a lot more to that. Final stage was a bit riding on the hype from being the end of the trilogy, so maybe that was the reason why it got first place at Revision. But you know, things change. So what is the main message that I wanted to give you guys from this video? So first I wanted to establish the parallels between the tools that we saw being created in the early 2000s or mid 2000s, Farklang, Crinkler, how all of that evolved. And nowadays we have a new wave of people, Fizzer, Nobi, Virgil, who are relatively new to doing 4Ks, but have been pushing those tools to the limit. And the question is, can we still improve in techniques? Like, can we push more content inside 4K? Is it only focused on direction now? Nobi has been showing that it's more focused on direction and having great results, but can you still compress things better? What if you only do the sound on the shader like the Japanese guys have been doing? Won't that give you a certain advantage overall? So let me know your comments on the comment section below. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and all that jazz. Check out my Patreon for ways that you can support me for doing more of these kind of videos. And I'll see you at the next demo party. Bye bye. Take care.